If you're just feeling frustrated because things haven't happened for you yet, God might be focused on something simply deeper than what you're looking at. God is looking at who you are becoming rather than not what you're getting. Appreciate y'all for tapping in with me back on another episode, bro. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and let's jump into the next episode. Yo, what is good, everybody, man? Welcome back to another Kids Room podcast, bro. Hopefully, everybody's feeling loved and blessed as always, man. We are, what is it, December 16th? We are so close to the end of the year, man. It is happening. It is coming, whether you know it or not. So I hope that people are not just thinking back and reflecting on everything that did not happen, but for the things that did happen and for things that are soon to come. So, but we're going to get into the word on today, of course. And first, we're going to start off with Romans chapter 8, verse 29. And that goes on to say, for whom he foreknew, he also predestined to be conformed to the image of his son, that he might be the firstborn among many brethren. He also predestined to be conformed to the image of his son. Right? So in that, it goes on to, it just says that God is shaping us to be conformed to his son. We were made in the image of God. Right? We were made in perfection. We were made before our parents even knew us. We were made before we knew who we were. And we were predestined. God knew who we were going to be. God knew what decisions we were going to make. God knew if we were going to go against him or go with him. And so many, in every single way, God knew. That means that God's main priority isn't blessings first. It's becoming. Because God is looking at anything that you go through, any trial, any challenge, even any blessing. What kind of person are you becoming with it? Right? So even with character, right? It comes before blessing. Character comes before blessing. So a lot of things happen to you before things happen for you. So now we have to switch up our mindsets, right? And it says, I believe in James, right? James chapter 1, verse 2, consider it a pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds. Verse 3, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Verse 4, let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. So these things are happening because it's creating character. So then you have a blessing. Same thing that happened with Joseph. Joseph had a dream early on that he was going to do something. He didn't know exactly what it was, but then later became his position. Later he was with Pharaoh, right? But before that, he had to go through prison. He had to go through slavery. He had to be in Potiphar's house. So many things happened good in these bad places, right? Not saying bad places, but places that he didn't think he was going to be, right? Probably in a negative connotation, right? Especially being in prison, being in slavery, doing these things, but something good always came out of it, right? But it took time to do that. He faced humility. God wants us to have humility, integrity, right? Patience, forgiveness, doing these things. If Joseph had received the same position before any of that happened, he probably would have been upset with his family. He probably wouldn't have ran things the way he would have been. He probably wouldn't have been as wise or knowledgeable or anything, or maybe even as graceful as he was towards the end of that story, right? God won't give you what your character won't handle. God won't give you 100 pounds if you can't do 50. God won't give you 100,000 if you can't handle 20, if you can't handle 50, if you can't handle 80, and so on and so forth. God delays what we want to develop because of what we need. So Moses spent 40 years in the wilderness leading Israel, right? So Israel, they were lost. They were in slavery. God said, come out of that. They said, it's more comfortable to stay in. We know we're going to do this. We know the routine. But God didn't want that. But God delayed them going to the promised land because he wanted them to develop. Right? So Moses spent 40 years in the wilderness leading Israel, right? Or not leading Israel, before Israel, right? So Moses was on his own 40 years. before he led Israel, before he led them to the promised land. And then he couldn't even go. He just had to look from afar, right? Because God was creating some, developing us before what we are actually meant to do. Leadership is built in obscurity. A lot of times we don't know that leadership is a 1% thing. So you're going to be alone a lot of times. You're going to be on your own a lot of times. You're going to be trying to do your own thing a lot of times and follow your own wave. And that's okay. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. Humility is learned in silence. The things that we go through, the battles that we have behind closed doors in the dark rooms, that is humility. That is being aware. That is growing, right? Trust is being forged and waiting, being patient. You have to be patient. You have to be kind. You have to be being able to work. Give the best effort that you can each and every day, right? You want promotion. You want clarity, breakthrough, opportunity. You want the money. You want the fame, maybe. You want the status, maybe. You want the relationship, maybe. You want the skills, maybe. You want the gift, maybe. I don't know what you want. Only you do. But God is developing. God is developing you in whatever you have. So if you don't have it, not saying you don't deserve it, maybe God has something completely different prepared for you in this type of standpoint, in this point in life. But you can say this though, if God gave you a dream about something, a vision about something, and it's actually from God, from Christ, then you'll realize simply that he will make it happen. But you just gotta be right place, right time, right? And then how do you do that? Just being obedient, showing humility, showing patience, doing those things, because God can do things with you when you have less on your plate, rather than stacking things up. And whenever he's silent, you're scared, or whenever he's speaking to you, then you don't want to do anything. Just being in that medium, right? And figuring out, how can I move forward? Because what you get can change. But who you become lasts. Who you become last. Who you become last. What does that even mean to you? That can mean a multitude of things. But it's very important that you know whatever you can get can always be a differentiator between your life now and another life. And that could be in a negative way, or that could be in a positive way. When God gives you a challenge, are you going to use it in a negative way, or are you going to use it in a positive way? When God gives you a relationship, are you going to do it? Are you going to treat it in a negative way, or are you going to treat it in a positive way? God is going to give us blessings, but how are we going to treat those things? So what you can get changes. God can take away and God can give, but who you become last. So whatever he does at that time, how you react, that's who you are. That's who you're going to become. That's who you're meant to be, right? Because then if you know that you are not patient and God takes something away from you, or you have to wait and it's not working for you, then you know that that's going to last as long as you let it. So God can give you more, but you as a person have to become. Solomon asked for wisdom, not riches, because his heart was right, but God gave him both. You see what I'm saying? God will give you both. God will give you everything that you're asking for, right? He's gonna do it. He's gonna do it. That's why he's a loving father. He's a graceful God. He's a grace. He's a giver and a taker. But even when he's taking away, he's giving you something. He's giving you a lesson. He's giving you discipline. He's giving you a way out, a path, a different way of seeing things, perspective. It doesn't matter, because the way God did things is the way that things will always be. But Solomon knew if his heart was in the right position, but he knew he didn't have to ask for riches. He asked for wisdom, and wisdom gave him riches. So God is going to give you things that's going to get you to where you want to go. So don't trip if it's hurting you right now. Don't trip if it's hard right now. Don't trip if you got to practice more. Just take that as revelation that this is what's going to get me to where I got to go to my next stop. That's it. You know what I'm saying? So when God changes you, everything around you eventually changes too. So it's the inner things that's going to change the things that are around you. If God hasn't given you what you're asking for yet, just don't assume he's ignoring you, because he's not. He's already watching you. He's seeing how you're acting. He's seeing how you're doing, moving through the silent seasons. Talked about that already before in multiple videos. He may be shaping you so you can sustain it. He wants you to have it for a long time. Whatever you go through is what is going to last. Overcome things is who you're going to be. So God isn't worried about what you're getting. God is worried about who you are becoming. God cares deeply about who you're becoming, because that determines everything else. It determines the people that you meet, that determines the impact that you have, everything. And it's God. God knows that it's our responsibility, obviously, to take that and to move forward with it. But it's also our responsibility to know that it determines everything. Who you become, who you are, how people talk about you, how you carry yourself, it determines everything. Right? It's not about the money. It's not about the name. It's not about any of that. It's about the internal. That's what's going to determine everything else in your life. So don't rush the process. What God is doing in you matters more than what he's giving to you. If this video spoke to you, bro, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. I appreciate y'all for tapping in with me on this one, man. Be loved, be blessed. Let's have a great end of the year. Let's start the new year off right, bro. And I'm going to catch y'all on the next one.